Welcome. I'm Rogers Anderson, Williamson County's mayor, and today I have the distinct honor of being able to have a conversation with a gentleman of the name of James Williams Burns. And
yes.
Thank you for being with us.
Glad to.
Your face is known throughout Franklin because you're raised right here in Williamson County.
Yes, sir.
So let's just start from way back to the part that you remember. When were you born and where were you born down? Tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah. Well, I was born at out Franklin Road right off of there. I forget the little section it was. It was right in Williamson County right there.
Somewhere around Hillsboro, I believe, wasn't
Well, later, but when I was born, it's off Franklin Road.
Oh.
Holly Tree Gap.
Holly Tree Gap.
Yeah, that's where I was born. But I spent most of my time around Hillsboro. And then I lived at Franklin, Lyndhurst, the area here, and that's where I was raised, just about in all those towns. And I walked everywhere I went, didn't have any vehicles or nothing like that. So even elementary school, I went to Franklin. I walked every day as a mile from Lyndhurst to Williamson County School. And rain or shine, whatever it was, I had to go, and I did.
They didn't have any school buses?
No. We was in the city. You didn't have no school buses in. Some of the county they did have. But so I lived at Lyndhurst, so I went to...
So how many brothers and sisters, Mr. Burns, did you have?
Well, I had 3 sisters. Well, 2 of my sisters died early. I had one sister that died, was 9 months old when she died, and then another sister that was 6 years old when she died, because she was, thought she had a cold or something, went to the doctor and everything, but she wound up, but she died of, I guess you'd call it, it wasn't pneumonia, it might have been close to it. So it's like that. And that was long years ago. And then I have one sister, and she's living now, Sybil Hickman. And then I have, that's about all of my folks.
Now, was your mother and daddy, were they from this area?
From this area. My mother was really from down next to Waverly at McEwen. And then my daddy was from Williamson County. Yeah, he was a carpenter, and my mother was just a housewife doing everything.
You know, I was looking at and talking to your family, and you had a couple of brothers that were identical twins.
Yeah.
And you just have the one sister now,
Yeah.
Sybil, that's still living. But those early days of your life, being from Franklin, you made reference to it, walking back and forth to school. I mean, being born in 1929 is a time that a lot of boys and girls, my parents, my daddy, my mother, they walked to school, oftentimes did chores before they ever went to school.
Sure.
And it was interesting to me, and finding out a little bit about you, when you went to school, you loved school.
I love school.
And had the opportunity to skip one grade, and you said what?
No, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I want to stay with my friends. So I could have been out early in high school, but I wanted to stay.
When you look back in that life, did you ever think you'd wind up living and working all of your life in Williamson County?
Well, no, I thought that was it anyhow, and that's what I took it as.
You met somewhere along in that period of time after you got out of high school. You went away to the service for a while.
Went to service for 2 years. I was drafted.
Did you ever serve overseas?
I got drafted, and I didn't get over there. So I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for dental work.
For dental work?
Dental work. I was, in my company, we had orders to go to Korea. And at 3 o'clock one evening, I got pulled off orders for dental work, get this done. I would have left next morning at 9 o'clock, and my company, Company B, went to Korea. That's when we'd send a division up there to fight about 10 division of Reds, and we didn't last long. So my company didn't last much over 30 days. So had I not got pulled off orders, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Well, so good Lord's watching out for you.
That's right. Had a place for me or something, I guess.
So in your early days, and you're working on the farm, for the people that are watching this show, they probably can't realize you didn't make a lot of money.
No, $1 a day.
$1 a day.
Yes, sir.
And what kind of work were you doing on the farm?
On the farm, yeah, we done everything. With tobacco was a big crop, you know, putting it out, cutting it, putting it up, and plowing, and cutting hay, stacking it, just general farm work.
And somewhere in that period, you'd have been, what, 14, 15 years of age?
Uh-huh.
And then you certainly... my notes tell me you actually started working for Kroger's on Main Street about when you were age 16.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I started working for Kroger, made 50 cents an hour, and that was big money. Because my other job there, I made 20 cents an hour working for Watson Salvage Store, and I appreciated it. That was good. 10 hours, and I got $2. They took out 2 cents Social Security. I got $1.98. Worked 10 hours. And
well, I hope you're getting some of that money back now.
Yeah. Yes, I am. No, it's been good. I can't complain.
So when you went away to the Army in the 1950s, 51.
Yeah, 51.
You came back after 2 years. I take it that you worked a little on your farm there in Burwood. But somewhere along in there, you met this girl that got your attention.
Sure did, because I worked for her daddy was running a farm for people, big farm out there, and I worked out there, you know, $1 a day. And then I met her out there. She was a young girl, and then after I got out of service, I saw her walking down the street, and I said, I remember that girl. She's grown up now. And I asked her for a date. And so we got a date. We went to all-night singing in Nashville, and as our first date. And we continued on, and then we got married in 58. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I believe you're right. My notes say we're right around that period of time.
Yep. And so I've been very happy that she's a good girl. We raised 3 children and all done well, and I think that's one of the things I thought most about, being able to raise a family and try to just do right, teach them how to work, because I worked all my life.
My first recollection of you, I think, in Franklin, Tennessee, was when I would see you with that big smile you had on your face and greeting people at Kroger's.
Yeah.
I oftentimes, I moved here in 1980, and I was shopping. There was only really 1 or 2 stores. It was either Kroger's or J.W. Little.
Yeah.
And I liked Mr. Little a lot, but Kroger's was closer.
Yeah.
And I remember you always wanting to help people, shake their hands.
I did.
And somewhere along there, you had a pretty good strong work ethic, because I'm not sure how many years did you work for Kroger?
44.
That's a long time with one company.
One company.
And then I believe your children worked for Kroger.
Yes. They followed me. They did. Every one of them worked for Kroger. And like my daughter, she worked 28 years. One daughter worked 23 years. And my son still works for Kroger now. He's a grocery merchandiser. He buys groceries for Tennessee. He works in Nashville.
Well, and your children, you had 3 children, Patty and Vicky and Jim. And of course, Patty and Vicky wound up in the law enforcement business.
Yeah, they did.
And you raised a real responsible family. I want to ask, though, a little bit about your time and when things were different in Williamson County.
Yes.
They're a lot different.
Oh, yes.
And there were times in your life that, as a young boy, I can only imagine some of the friendships you developed over the years. But it was a hard time, but it was a good time. It was a good time.
Sure was.
If you could go back and kind of, what were some of those good times that you enjoyed as a boy and then on up?
Oh, well, I enjoyed going to school.
The friendship.
Friendship, and going to school and working, and so that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I done most of the time, and being responsible. I was fortunate. I made good grades. I was salutatorian of my class in high school. I was the second. Because I'd averaged in all the high school 95.6. And I hardly ever carried a book home because I worked in the evening. I'd either walk, which was 8 miles out to Hillsborough if I worked late, because I couldn't pay a taxi. Would cost you $2, and I didn't even make that. Because after 10 hours, I made $1.98. I made $2 and took out 2 cents Social Security. So that wasn't an option. So I walked many, many times at night. It wasn't many cars on the road then, because people went to bed earlier because they had to get up with farm work and things. So they was all to bed, and I was walking by myself. I wasn't afraid of anything.
I'm curious. As a young boy, when I was growing up, my early days, I remember when we had the first television in the house.
Oh.
It was an old black and white.
Oh, we had old black and white.
And I believe the name of it may have been an old Philco.
Yes, sir. I've seen them.
And I just thought that was the greatest thing in the world.
It sure was. Gosh, that was something. And it was good.
Televisions and the first phone we ever had, we had about 3 or 4 people on the street.
Yeah.
And it had different rings for each.
We did too, sure did, same time. And you had the party line, sometimes they was talking, you couldn't talk, you had to wait. And it went by rings, like you was 2 rings or 3 rings, that was you. The other people were on the same line.
In those early days, you were working with Kroger.
Yes, sir.
Anything changed?
Oh, definitely. Many, many things changed. Back then, I started working with Kroger on Main Street in Franklin, and it was quite different. It's a little it was the second one. Hills was on the corner. We was next to it there. 3,000 square feet, the whole store. And we didn't carry chocolates and things because it had screen doors. Didn't have air conditioning, screen doors. And so we couldn't carry that in some time. And then the floors was old pine floors. And then Saturday night, we oiled the floors.
You what?
Oiled them, put oil all over them
like you had to clean them.
Yeah. That was kept down dust and everything else like that. And then we had one refrigeration where meat, little place for meat, and our produce didn't. We packed it in barrels at night and put ice on it, and then the next day we'd take it out and put it on wooden racks. That was produce, and that's how we kept that. And so it was quite different.
So where did you get most of your meats? Were they local, your vegetables local, or did Kroger ship them in?
No, that's what we did. And meats, you got them from the packing houses in Nashville. They come around, and you'd buy your meat from them, and you had to cut it up. You'd buy a side of beef, a whole side of beef, and you'd have to cut it up, retail cuts, and keep it like that. And then produce, you just bought some. And if there's anything local, you bought that too, be it green beans or anything, squash.
So like you mentioned refrigeration, were there blocks of ice?
No.
It was electricity? You had
Had one little cooler there, but the rest of it, we used blocks of ice. We crushed it up, like packing the vegetables down a layer and then put more vegetables in a layer in big barrels. Then we took it out the next day and displayed it on wooden racks.
So where did we get the ice here in Franklin?
From the ice house.
And where's the ice house at?
It was down on 2nd Avenue. That's where you bought ice.
Blocks of ice.
Blocks of ice. And then they used to deliver it too in some town. And you had a sign you put up 25, 50, 75, 100, a card, and they deliver ice. Even people start back, like Dr. Guffey started back. And when he's going to school and everything, delivering ice, they were just jobs to do, to earn money. And that's what we used.
And we're at that particular time in your life, we're talking in the 50s and 60s, automobiles were becoming more and more popular, but I can't imagine in those early days that all of that was done with vehicles. There were probably people still walking and riding horses.
Sure there was. Yes, sir. That was just, you got a little to carry. But it was, most of it walking, so I lived 8 miles out of town, so I walked them in. At night, dark, I wasn't afraid of the dark or nothing. I'd lay down in the woods and go to sleep if I need to. And now, it's so many people bother you and everything. But
well, and when you worked in those early days, did you ever have another job other than working for Kroger's? Not farming. Any other place?
Yeah, Watson Salvage
Well,
store.
but that was when you were a boy.
Boy, yeah. But no, after I started, 44 years, that put you on up there.
Well,
And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the boss, and I finally got up to be the manager, and I stayed there and enjoyed it, worked hard.
So let's go back a little bit about your farm and growing up. Rough life?
Yeah, little, I guess. But, we thought it wasn't too bad there.
Everybody had to do their part.
Everybody had to do their part. Sure did.
Your daddy, was he a farmer?
No, he was a carpenter. He built houses and things, and he didn't go to the war. He built barracks and things for the government. Like at Oak Ridge, he had built all them up there, and they didn't know what they were. He was building barracks for soldiers to stay. He didn't know what it was till they dropped that atomic bomb. He'd been working up there building them and things all his life. Didn't know what it was.
Just go up there and stay and come back home?
Went up there on Monday and come back home like Friday night after he got through. So, and then they worked in West Tennessee building barracks out there. So he spent a lot of time. He was, there was a need for it, and that's what he needed to do, so that's where he went.
Well, I probably lived in one of those. My mom and dad met in Oak Ridge.
Is that right?
And the first, I think, 4 years of their marriage, they lived in those flat-top barracks that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I was born there, and then later on moved out. But that's where Mom and Dad met after the war, because that's where the jobs were.
That's where it was.
I think about your parents' generation, it was a tough life.
Yeah.
But there wasn't Medicare.
No.
There was Social Security. You paid a couple of pennies, and then health insurance, you just had to, whatever mom fixed for you to stay healthy, that's what you had to do.
That's what you had to do. Yes, sir.
And Dr. Guffey here in town, he was probably a little bit more educated than some of the other men and women, but
yes. Yeah, he went to going to Vanderbilt School, and he delivered ice. When you'd put your card up, 50 would be up top, and he'd give you a 50-pound block of ice. You put it in old refrigerators to keep things cold.
When you were active at Kroger, and you've been retired from Kroger now since 1989.
Yeah.
But in your heyday, I remember people and seeing you very involved in the chambers, the Williamson County Chamber. I think you were a Civitan member for a long time.
Long time. And I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I always had something to do.
Well, what I'm getting at is that your whole life has been about service.
Yes.
You had to make a living, but you serviced people at Kroger's. You waited on people. You helped people. You ran a business.
Yes, sir.
And your community involvement, I'm sure, was much more extensive than just the Civitan Club or the Chamber of Commerce. I know personally you helped a lot of people with their groceries.
Oh, yeah.
Their grocery bills.
Did. I did. That I did. When I wanted to help what I could, of course I do, but a lot of times I give them, somebody who's needy, they got a sack of groceries, and I give them to them.
You were a good employee for Kroger's.
Yes, I got to stay.
Long time.
Long time.
I think sometimes it's without getting too deep into it. You had a strong work ethic, Mr. Burns.
Yes. Yes, sir.
By simply saying simply saying you grew up working from, you was high enough to a grasshopper, and you're still going strong today.
That's right. Sure did. I had a lot of health problems. I've had them, but I made it through most of them. I had a stiff leg, and I always limped, and everybody remembered, said, I know you. My mama used to bring me to grocery. You that man that limped around. I said, yeah, I did. I had the knee taken out, and they didn't put knees in then, so they just took it out, threw it away, spliced it, and put the kneecap back on with a screw to make it look like a knee.
Well, my notes tell me that you were a very young man living on Battle Avenue. You had, I believe, one child.
Yes.
And the doctors said, you got a kneecap problem.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they didn't do knee replacements back then.
No, they didn't.
And there was some thought that you might even not be able to walk again.
Absolutely.
And so you had to take a period of time off from work.
Yes.
New wife, fairly new.
Yeah.
Baby.
Baby, one baby, and they just bought a little house up there, and $7,500 for a house.
In Williamson County.
On Battle Avenue.
You sold it too soon.
Yeah, I did. Gosh, yes, I did. But that's what I thought. That was as good as I could do. It was close to town and everything. It was real nice.
Well, you fed your family. You were a good employee. You were a pillar in our community. And one of the things that I think is important for everybody to understand, your generation was very special to our community. And that's what we're doing in taping these shows, so that years to come, your grandchildren and great-grandchildren and the community will know that it didn't just happen. It was men and women like you.
Working.
It's I could sit here and name you all kinds of men and women that put something into our community that people like myself and others have come to enjoy, and to some degree, not always appreciate. Dr. Guffey, his name will always be here because he was a doctor.
That's right.
But a Mr. Burns may not always be remembered. That is the man that helped many people in our community.
I tried to.
And the influence that you had on our community and your raising of children and making good, productive people. And sometimes we fail to realize the importance of that in making our community what it is.
That's right. That's part of it.
I'm sure you could sit here and name many person that had a little bit of piece of making Franklin of what they are today.
Absolutely.
And we're most appreciative of that. Before I forget, we've just got a couple of minutes left on our show. I was shown a picture of a parade that you made a cart, and I forget the original Kroger gentleman, maybe it was Mr. Kroger. Do you remember his name, who started Kroger?
No, I know he did start in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1883.
You hadn't forgot that?
No, he had a wagon, a horse and wagon. They delivered bread and coffee and stuff, and that's Kroger started.
And then you came down here during a parade and either had a wagon made, or did you make that wagon in a parade?
Well, we borrowed a wagon, and then we made the sides and everything to look like, and painted it and looked like Barney Kroger's wagon in Cincinnati.
Barney Kroger.
Barney
that was the
Kroger.
name I was trying to come up with.
That's Barney. And
so this picture we're going to show has got you sitting in a wagon, the one here that you made.
Right.
Did you ever meet Mr. Kroger?
No.
He was gone.
No, he was gone a long time before I come along.
Well, we may not have met the original Mr. Kroger, but we met the Kroger, Mr. Kroger of Franklin, Tennessee.
I tried to, yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Mr. Burns, we're going to have to sign off.
All right.
Thank you very much for being with us, but thank you even more for making this wonderful place here and helping to make Williamson County a better place to live and work and go to church and worship, and we will all be indebted to your hard work and offering a little bit of that fabric to our community. You're a good man.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being with us.
All right.